Hey, what's up? Welcome to Inktober, October 1st, 2019. Today's the first day of Inktober. I completed my first Inktober drawing right here. I'm probably going to post it pretty soon, but I can't at all promise that I'm going to be able to complete the Inktober challenge. I never actually have. Just with my schedule, it's usually pretty crazy, and this year is no different. So I'm going to try to get as many daily Inktober drawings as I can. But yeah, big respect to anyone who has ever actually completed the challenge. It's real awesome to see. I love the month of October just for this reason, actually. But what I wanted to do is actually, throughout this month, make more ink focused videos for the Inktober theme. So this video is going to be sort of like a off the cuff, unedited. I don't really want to edit this video, so I'm just gonna see where this goes. But this will be like a Inkspiration kind of video, pretty much just sharing with you some black and white artwork that inspires me and maybe will inspire you as well. I kind of dug up a few books off of my shelf, and we could go through some of them right now. I posted this on my Instagram story yesterday, but Batman Black and White, I don't know if any of you are familiar with this series. They put out a couple of volumes. This is probably from like 15, 20 years ago at this point, but there's a story in here that's super cool. It's by Bruce Timm, who's one of my favorites. I was like really inspired by his work growing up, and very, I think subconsciously very influenced by his work, just because he was the man behind Batman the Animated Series. He created the whole look and all that, and I was obsessed with that show when I was a kid. So when I first saw this story, I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" Because it looks just like a Batman the Animated Series cartoon, but the content it's pretty dark. It's definitely not for kids. And the storytelling is amazing. It's like an 8-panel grid on every page, and each one of these panels is like its own awesome illustration. So cool. But yeah, the black and white, like this kind of comic right here, it doesn't even need color, and that's when you know the work is really, really strong. There's so much awesome like mark making going on here. He's like a real master at just making things into either black or white. You know, there's very little like hatching and cross hatching and middle tone, and it creates like a really cool aesthetic. It's not easy to do at all, but when you're able to achieve that look, little marks like this, like things suggesting texture and things like that, they really pop and they really stand out, and they actually mean something. Simple is definitely not easy. Every line here contributes to the whole of this drawing. Like, there's not a line on any of his art that doesn't need to be there. So that's like the sign of someone who really knows what they're doing. So cool. Look at a panel like that. It's crazy. It's awesome. So anyway, this stuff is really inspiring. Each one of these could be its own awesome Inktober drawing. So yeah, Bruce Timm, he's obviously a big influence on the animation world, but he has done some amazing comic book work as well. Mad Love was one of his like critically acclaimed comics. So yeah, check this out. The rest of this book has some really awesome black and white comic work as well. This is a story by Joe Kubert. Look at those lines, so nice. There's some other work in here, and it kind of like there's a lot of variety too. It's not all like super mainstream looking stuff. This is some pretty inventive stuff right here. It's nice, and you wouldn't even necessarily think of this as like a Batman story, so that's really cool. Like I said, there's probably about 2 or 3 volumes of these collected at this point. Yeah, definitely worth checking out. Here's one of my favorites. If I could go get it. This is an Alex Toth collection of his Zorro comics. Alex Toth is one of my favorites, and I could only suspect he was one of Bruce Timm's favorites as well. You could definitely see the influence. I think Alex Toth was the influence of many comic book artists. So subconsciously, a lot of us are probably actually influenced by Alex Toth. But I found out about his work when I was in college, and I was like blown away by it. It's incredible. Unfortunately, this is the only collection of his work that I have in book form. But there's so many Alex Toth art books out there. But if you've never heard of Alex Toth, definitely just Google him. I think he started making comics in the 50s, and then all the way up through probably like the early 90s. Super prolific. I mean, I can only imagine he's created thousands and thousands of comic pages. This was back in the day when comic artists were producing, they were working on like several series at a time. And he comes from that old school where he was doing everything on the page: lettering, penciling, inking, all of it. He didn't always write the stories, but as far as the visuals go, that was all him. And I think that's one of the reasons why his work is so strong and it's so good, is because he understands every aspect of the craft. So his style is always recognizable as Alex Toth, but it does vary depending on what story he's working on. Sometimes it's a little bit more cartoony, and other times it's a little bit more realistic. This Zorro collection seems to be a middle ground between the two. There's some cool like gray tones here too. I don't know if they were there when it was originally printed. I'm not sure if those are like zipitones or anything like that, but or if these were put on later on. But look at panels like that. He was like a real proponent of not putting anything in the drawing that didn't need to be there. And that's something that I'm constantly reminding myself of as well. And Bruce Timm, who I just showed before, definitely took from that. Goes back to that whole like simple is not easy kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, check out Alex Toth if you don't already know him, just for not only inking and black and white inspiration, but also just like storytelling and draftsmanship and all that. Try to get this in focus. Yeah, really cool. The last one I have here is, this is a torpedo collection by Jordi Burnett, and then I later heard, I think it's pronounced Bernay. I'm not sure. He's European. I think he's like Spanish or French. No idea. But his artwork is awesome. Look at that. That's so crazy. I was looking at this earlier and I was trying to figure out how much of this is brush and if there's any like pen nib in there. If I could guess, I would say that this is mainly done with all brush. It's so cool. He utilizes dry brush really nicely too. His work, like his inking style, it's not what you would call like tight or precise or anything like that, but it's so alive, it has so much energy, and that really contributes to the overall storytelling and really bringing like the characters to life. I love inking like this because I love looking at inking like this because you see the artist's hand in it, It really feels like this page was worked on. And I love like, tighter work as well, but this kind of stuff really speaks to me. And it's hard to like, with your own style, kind of like loosen up sometimes and still keep that precision and that clearness. Look at this, like everything is in like mostly silhouette over here, yet it's like so descriptive. All the lighting stuff, awesome. And he was at a certain point, I think, a contemporary of Alex Toth. Pretty sure they were working at the same time. I can only imagine that he was also influenced by Alex Toth. as well as other like European artists. And I think, as far as I know, I think he still works today, Jordy Burnett. If anyone knows, leave it in the comments below. So cool. This is the only collection of his work that I have. I don't really know like his stories too much. To be honest, I don't think I've ever even read this book. I just like really geek out over the artwork. It's amazing. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to say about this. But yeah, this was just like 3 books that I thought might be cool to share, and maybe you haven't seen them. I don't know. Hopefully this lends you some inspiration, some Inkspiration for your Inktober journey throughout the month. So yeah, I'll try to do more videos like this, and I would also like to do other inking focused videos. So if you have any like questions or comments about inking, making black and white artwork, leave them down below, and maybe I can make a video focused around that. So I hope to produce more videos this month, and yeah, hope you like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.